criterium after the Giro della Montagna yesterday at the virtual Gateway Cup in the ERL. And welcome to day 2 of the virtual Gateway Cup. Brad Soner here with Frank Cundiff, one of the commissioners of the Echelon Racing League and taking the weekend off from racing. Frank, as we head to Benton Park today, these are all classic stages of the Gateway Cup. Before we get to talking about today, I want to go back to yesterday at the Giro della Montagna, the legendary criterium in the neighborhood known as the Hill. And the course earns its name as well with a pretty significant hill on that Giro della Montagna course that the riders conquered for day 1 of the virtual Gateway Cup. It was a pretty straightforward course yesterday, Frank, and ended in a field sprint. Sorry about that, but for the most part, today going to be very different than what we saw yesterday. The four-corner crit, but today a ton of turns. Let's talk about the winner yesterday. A surprise win, I think, out of the group in the Giro della Montagna.
Yeah, Matt Moen from In Short came out of nowhere. He won the amateur race last week as well in the Cat 1 field. But, In Short's got a whole stable of riders who are able to win this race. And to be honest, Matt was not on the radar there, which might have played to his benefit in this race.
Yeah, a lot of guys trying to get away early. We saw big rides from riders like Matt Usborne. You see Alec Jones trying to take a go at it here as well, but really nobody able to get away. It came down to that select group that we see a lot of in the ends of these races. And then you see Moen just shoot right up the middle there in the white jersey for the Insured, presented by Pedal Power Team, formerly known as Evoc Bike, as Moen joining that squad after an amateur win as well. Now, a lot of riders familiar names at the top of the results list on this one. So those names, not so much a surprise, but Moen coming to the Echelon Racing League from the amateur series. We stream the amateur races each week before the pro series, and Moen actually winning the amateur race of the Giro della Montagna just a week ago before this one. That allowed him to enter the Echelon Racing League in the pro ranks. Ned Bowen second yesterday, along with Will Harden.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think yesterday was a really easy race to hide. You can look at his average power to weight versus everyone else, and Matt is obviously figured out the platform really well and is able to hide and conserve that energy and then throw down that 16 to 18 watt per kilogram 10-second sprint at the end. Today with 10 turns, I think it's going to be a little bit of a different story, and I'm curious to see how it plays out.
Yeah, we talked about the hill yesterday. There is a little bit of elevation gain today, including the 2 overpasses over the freeway. You see the yellow section in our Velo viewer here. But yeah, this one is a technical one, and especially on RGT, that is going to be a major factor because, Frank, the corners are a major, major factor in racing on this platform.
Absolutely. The nuances that come with the RGT platform and the electronic braking your avatar does into the turns is definitely going to play into how this race unfolds.
All right, want to bring in race director Mike Weiss, our in real life race director, joining us here in the virtual Echelon Racing League. Mike, we were in the hill yesterday. We talked about the flavor of the neighborhood, one of the cooler parts of racing at the Gateway Cup. Benton Park today, what's the neighborhood like where we're racing today?
It's a funky urban mix. We're St. Louis is a pretty old city on the riverfront city, and this is our closest race really to that history. So we're next to the Anheuser-Busch Brewery. We go right next to their campus. It's sort of a residential and commercial district. We go by all these cool like the one joint where there's sort of like the course touches itself out and back. That's usually like there's a bar called Venice Cafe there, and that's kind of the place to watch. But yeah, to your point, I mean it is a winding and twisty criterium. We use the term criterium loosely with this race.
Yeah, it's a tough one out there. Baked ravioli yesterday, and then the Anheuser-Busch campus today. We are just a few minutes away from getting the guys out on course here, so we're going to take a short break. When we come back, live racing from the Echelon Racing League Pro Men up next.
sport is changing.
I'm looking to do things better.
To improve.
Just because it's always been that way doesn't mean it's right.
I embrace change.
I seek adventure and discovery.
I explore and explore.
To know the unknown.
Even in the toughest moments, we ride together.
Even in the moments when we're at our limits.
We support each other. It's time to move up a level.
Push that little bit harder.
Changes we make now will make the future better for all.
The efforts we put in today will pay dividends tomorrow.
We all have the power to up the game.
To build something better.
It's not time to play.
It's time to get real.
It's time to be a game changer.
As an athlete, getting marginally better is one thing. Getting exponentially better puts you in a whole new ballgame. Biomoto uses a proprietary digital process to capture movement at 200 frames per second and 70 sensors per foot to measure ground-based forces, resulting in advanced motion analysis that's up to 10 times more accurate than orthotics. It's the data generated by this process that allows Biomoto to construct custom insoles that make athletes faster, stronger, and more stable, and results in an unprecedented 95% success rate.
Normatec recovery systems give you a high-tech compression massage for warm-up pre-workout and recovery post-workout.
The technology is very safe and is used by a broad range of athletic types and really any fitness enthusiast looking to get the most out of their workout.
The whole idea is that we're using air compression to help increase circulation in the body. We wanted to mimic physiology, the way the body moves fluids. We went ahead and took a lot of those principles and put it into a system that you can use on your different extremities and your hips as well.
Normatec has been an industry leader in pneumatic compression, providing improved mobility and profound healing for thousands of patients. We continually work with researchers to study and develop the effectiveness of our technology.
It's all about creating that community space where people have a conversation around recovery and start really challenging their beliefs in what is possible and what they've known and maybe what could be.
All eyes on Matt Moen, yesterday's winner at the Giro della Montagna, back for more today after graduating from the amateur series and making his way up to the pro ranks here to race this weekend with the Insured, presented by Pedal Power Team, formerly the EVOC Bike Squad. What a great story for Mo, and it really just shows how much talent is out there, Frank, and there's a lot of untapped talent that we're discovering here in the ERL, from riders that have gone on to race at the Esports World Championships to riders that are just graduating from the garage to come into the pro ranks. It has been awesome watching the last few weeks of the Echelon Racing League here.
About RGT in and of itself is that, you know, RGT, the basic membership is free. The Echelon Racing League amateur races are free. And so you really start to get that, open that aperture for the amount of new riders that can be showcased and can show their abilities.
All right, our field underway and racing as pro men take off for 18 laps of the circuit out there today. You see our Zoom room as the riders do the standard RGT start here. Frank, I know you've done this several times before, but just take us through the importance of a start here on the RGT platform.
Yeah, so, you know, the best way to do it is when you get to the 3 to 5 second mark before the start, you really want to get your power up and make sure your avatar is pedaling in place so that when that green flag drops, it kind of rockets you out of the start line. RGT did do a update. They're really great about the feedback, and so for the first 100 meters, they turn collision detection off to make sure the starts are nice and smooth. As you can see, you know, we've got 50 riders in the field here riding together, and I'm really curious to see how these 10 turns are going to affect this large field.
Yeah, at one point it looked like a Category 5 cyclocross start out there. Everyone was just banging into each other, and it was really tough to get there because you had to be at the front of the group to have a good start. Otherwise, the game was blocking riders at the back. That's how realistic it is. And that does turn on later in the game where you have to be at the front of the group if you're trying to get away or trying to escape out of the group. So the racing dynamics, pretty interesting here on the RGT platform. All right, let's talk about today, Frank. Certainly a different course today, but does the racing change on a day like today? I mean, after you see maybe that you don't do so well in the sprint, can you change your strategy today, or is the course so different today that you can't really apply anything from yesterday?
No, I think what we've seen with the Echelon Racing League races thus far on RGT is that the virtual races tend to play out relatively similar to the way the real life races play out. So, on Benton Park, it's usually for the pro fields, either a reduced field sprint or, a large breakaway of, 8 to 12 riders or so. I'd be curious to see if we see a breakaway go today. I think, the potential is there.
Look at Matt Moen getting up to the front here early on, making sure he doesn't miss a move if it does go, and certainly a chance that we see a group try to escape out there today. Moen obviously on good form. There's a confidence boost as well, isn't there, Frank? When you're winning, it's much easier to have that feeling that I can win again the next day. When you're hot, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's a adrenaline boost, right? You have a ego boost, if you will, coming off a win, especially in a field of this magnitude.
Confidence watts, as they call them. See Alec Jones moving up on the left-hand side as well. Now take a look at the names up at the front, because there's a good chance that you'll see these guys for a majority of the day today. But just because they put up these big watts doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have a good result at the end of the day, Frank. If there's one thing that I've learned from watching the racing here, it's the importance of efficiency in racing in terms of your watts per kilogram. As you take a look at our top 5 power performers from the Armed Forces Cycling Classic, the last stop in the Echelon Racing League, these are the highest average watts per kilogram, but the results don't necessarily line up. So what I'm learning is that you can have massive legs, but if you're using that energy at the wrong time, it's going to be pretty easy to find yourself outside of the top 10.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, going back to real life racing, it's not always, and very rarely is, the strongest person wins the race. It's the smartest and most efficient. Matt Moen's a great example of that. If you look at his power to weight average yesterday versus everyone else in the top 10, he had the second lowest out of everyone else in the top 10, coming in at under 4 watts per kilogram.
And then you see guys like Brian Hodges setting the tempo early. Now, Hodges going into the red zone here briefly, spending just a little bit of time lifting the tempo. I think he was sensing that things were just a little too easy out there. Now, Frank, we do have several teams that will be working together in this squad, including the Insured presented by Pedal Power squad. Hodges is an early hitter for these guys. He's a diesel truck that will get out front, really try to lift the tempo early and try to spit some riders out the back, make it as tough as they can early on.
Yeah, I think the goal here, what it looks like Inshore is trying to do is keep the pace high, keep it going hard, and just see what riffraff they can shell out of this field and get it down to brass tacks.
The other thing to watch as we watch the live video of these riders, the explosive nature right there. See how Hodges had to get out of the saddle so quickly? It's because they're trying to cover these gaps, Frank. If you lose that gap and lose the draft, you're really in trouble on the platform, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, right now these riders are doing 47K per hour, so it was at 25 to 27-ish, somewhere in there. So, yeah, if you get more than a couple bike lengths off out of that draft at 27 miles an hour, get your head into the wind there, it's going to make the racing exceptionally harder for you.
Talked about Hodges earlier trying to set tempo up on the front for the Ebach Bike Squad. That's exactly what's happening now. The now insured pedal power team is going to put some of these heavy hitters up to the front. And then it seems like Austenfeld and Thrall are their finishers, sort of their two sprinters when these come down to group sprints. Austenfeld and Thrall are the two riders that have been getting the wins for the Ebach Bike presented by Insured Squad. And here's Austenfeld taking a look off the front right now, maybe trying to flip the script today. So how about this effort from Neil Austenfeld?
This is a monster effort, Brady. Just steady 8 watts per kilogram for over a minute now. Again, I think they're just trying to thin out the field. It's easier to win against 10 guys than it is 50 guys.
Some of this, now we see these guys go into the red. It's not always a planned attack. Sometimes you see either a lag in the riders responding to the power or the lag in the power registering in the game. So sometimes it's just trying to close a gap, and then that sort of translates to looking like a small breakaway off the front. You'll see the same thing when you see the riders shoot up the outside of the group. When you see guys go through the group really quickly, that's usually them just overcompensating as they were getting dropped off the back and then trying to get back in. Frank, it's an art form, just like painting. You got to have just the right touch. You got to be an artist out there on the bike.
Yeah, I like to compare it. It looks like it looks like road racing, a virtual version of road racing. But I think I see it from a mental aspect. It's a lot like single track mountain bike racing. Where you're just hyper aware of everything going on around you because you don't want that gap to mysteriously open up, or you stop paying attention for 10 seconds, and next thing you know, you go from 5th wheel to 30th wheel, and you're on the outside of the turn and getting gapped off.
Yeah, it's really amazing how the physics can play into those corners. We'll talk about how you can see it in the game, both in the shape of the group and what's on there called their GUI, the graphical user interface. That's all the information that you see around the outside of the screen. Charlie Revel for Team Tour 2000 has the best home camera setup that I've ever seen here, Frank. This guy's sending us 2 angles. We got his reaction cam on the front, and then pretty cool to see his setup, what the riders are looking at from on the trainer. It's always fun to see everyone's different pain cave setup and how they've adapted to training and riding. And it looks like Charlie is in the basement. I think I see some cinder blocks there in front of him. Good setup for Revel.
Yeah, that one makes me kind of jealous of his.
Look, he's got the fan mounted up top, and I think that might be his internet junction box right there. You got to go straight to the source to get the fastest internet possible for RGT. He's a true gamer.
Oh yeah, no, I will say, Mallory McCrossy and I, we have hard. You want to make sure you mitigate any risk involved, right? Of you want to try to keep everything in your control. So we don't want to rely on wireless due to dropouts. So we hardwire our computers to the internet so that you get the best bandwidth and minimize the risk of dropouts.
Yeah, we've actually seen technicals take some pretty have some pretty major effects on several races where riders either lost power or lost internet because of their location, and then that usually gets corrected pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think I think the biggest one that we've seen recently was Kristen Faulkner in the Women's Armed Forces Clarendon Cup last weekend, where she and Jackie Godby lapped the field, and then as Jackie Godby went to attack, Faulkner had a dropout and just she lost control for about 30 seconds, and that cost her the race.
Yeah, basically registers zero power until you get back into the game. So if you lose connection, it just shows you as a 0 until you reconnect. So every second that you're out of the game matters, because it's basically like your character is just not pedaling.
Yeah, we like to call them e-mechanicals, right? It's just, it's a thing that sometimes you just can't control that that occurs in a race, and that's racing. What's great with the RGT folks is when we do have dropouts like that. We had a rider or two yesterday that had some issues. They weren't sure if it was on their side or the platform side, and we reached out to the platform, and within a couple hours, we're talking 1 a.m. European time where they're located. They've been able to get back to us and say, we analyzed the data, here's what we think occurred, and tell us whether it was the setup of the rider or if there was, you know, a data hiccup on their side. And we've been able to go back to the riders and give them a best practices of how to prevent that from occurring next time.
Yeah, we talked about how the riders are having to learn the platform, but really everyone is learning this virtual racing thing, from the verification to how we run the races to how we score the races to how we broadcast the races. We're still working on some things on our end here as well as we continue to wade into this new world here in the pandemic. With Frank, we were talking about the pain caves earlier. Who says cyclists don't have any style? Look at this. I like the RGB lighting all around with these three guys. True gamers, right? Once you get the RGB lighting going with your rig.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, it's a lot of these riders, you know, a lot of us spend a lot of time, you know, you figure these guys are putting in the same amount of hours and most of these guys are real racers on the road. So, you know, in the winter, if they're on the trainer 15 hours a week, that's going to result in, you know, that's a lot of time on the bike in the same spot. And you want to make it exciting and festive and a space you want to be in.
Bruce Bird enjoying some camera time here. We'll say hello to Bruce. I'm not sure you might be able to hear us on Zoom here. Hello, Bruce. Maybe not.
I'm actually surprised, to be completely honest, how big this group still is after 12 minutes of racing, Brad.
Yeah, pretty big group here. I think some tired legs, maybe a little post-holiday effect here, Frank.
Yeah, you know, I think it's that, and I think, honestly, you know, we're now halfway through the Echelon Racing League. These racers have done 4 weekends of racing so far, and I think a lot of these guys, you know, are getting a hang of the platform, and they're figuring out how to use those nuances to their benefit and race with the physics of the game.
The other thing that I think we're starting to see more and more of, Frank, is teamwork. The teams and riders are really starting to figure out how to play the platform well and how to use their teammates to their advantage. You are a rider on Project Echelon. You're taking this weekend off from racing, but I want to talk about the teamwork and kind of how you guys work together. We're going to be able to listen to Project Echelon's Discord throughout the day today. What kind of stuff are you guys talking about on the Discord? I mean, what is that communication like?
Yeah, so we at Project Echelon, we have a director sportif for e-racing. It's John Hamlin. If you don't know John, he's, you know, a name in the Southeast United States for criterium racing, just one of the smartest riders out there. And he's big into e-racing, has been doing it for a while. And so we brought him on to help us out, but, you know, he'll go through, look at the courses. We'll meet on Discord about half an hour and do a team meeting just like you would in real life. And then, you know, we talk, you know, how the race might play out and what we should do, you know, who to watch and what teams to watch, really. And it's, you know, the criteriums, it's a lot harder, just like in real life, than it is a road race to work together. But you're able to, you know, don't attack if your teammate's off the back, you know, don't chase a teammate down. You know, here's the top 3 guys to watch for this race based on race history. And it's really, you know, it's exactly the same thing as the in-race radio, which makes it a lot easier to race, you know, just like in real life when you're not having to cover every move yourself and there's no unknowns, you know, as to who is doing what. You know, you can push to talk and say, I need someone to cover this while I'm tired. So it's you know, it's a lot like race day communications in real life race.
Let's see if we can hear some. I'm going to listen in on the Project Echelon Discord here. We'll just leave it and listen for a quick minute here.
They went way harder. Yeah.
We could make it hard, but who knows what that'll do.
Give it a whirl, Vogue. We'll see what happens.
Test that January fitness.
The downhill on the backside is definitely favorable for you.
We call him fat.
I mean, you're calling him bigger than you.
Take that as a compliment.
Frank, the downhill is favorable for you. That's my new favorite compliment.
Well, and he's talking with Stephen Bogle there, which we had Bogle I think took last weekend off. He did race the Gila, and he's the diesel engine of Project Echelon. The guy, I've never seen someone take an uphill KOM averaging something like 530 watts for 4 minutes. I mean, the guy's just a giant diesel locomotive. And when you need something brought back or you need a pace set, that's who we look to go to the front.
It's amazing how we're also starting to find roles in virtual racing as we continue to expand the complexity of racing here on the platform. We're seeing more and more riders sort of specialize in some different roles. Here's a look at Zach Nair, and look at Neil Ostenfeld over here on the right-hand side of the picture. Neil from the Insured, presented by Pedal Power Squad. Looks like he has a massive fan setup going in the garage here.
I like his lighting. He's got this Zoolander Jesus look going.
Backlit and the fan, it's perfect.
Oh yeah, it's
not
great.
Quite as good as Cecilia June, who we had yesterday, with the steam coming off of her as she was out in the garage, obviously in a cold environment. But that was maybe the coolest rider call-in camera that we've ever had. So, Frank, still nobody getting away off the front. We did see some groups forming off the back, but for the most part, all the big players still in this group. A little surprising to see how big this group is so early, especially with so many turns here on the Benton Park course.
Yeah, I think one of the things Eric and I have been working on with the community is, with RGT, the way we create these real-life courses in the game, as Matt Moan goes up the road here, stringing it out. Is we with the magic, we create what RGT calls magic roads, and you send them a GPX file and they'll create it as a virtual course. Velez going off over the top of Moan here. They're really stringing it out now.
Yeah, just as I talked about how easy things were getting out there, it seems that they've lifted the tempo. So thank you very much to Matt Moen and Charlie Velez. They must be listening to the live stream here.
But yeah, so what we've done is worked with the community. A couple of the guys, one of them I believe is a geospatial engineer, so we send him our GPX file, and he helps us streamline it to make it look more like a race course, with the race lines than what you would get off of a standard Google Map course. And so I think what that's done is made these courses a lot more fluid and faster, if you will. After we do that, and then we send them to RGT for verification. The goal being that we want these to be as realistic and race-like as possible.
Yeah, a lot of feedback from the riders and feedback from the community as well. That goes back to you guys and then back to RGT, even week to week. I mean, if the amateur riders will report something, a lot of times we see some tweaks to those courses before the pro races start.
Yeah, no, absolutely. After last Sunday's race, I had 3 or 4 riders reach out and say, hey, this little jog in the turn here, and there was a little bump here, and we were able to go back and look at it and say, oh yeah, they're right. Let's go back and adjust a little, and then create a new course.
Ryan Rotherham taking a little look off the front here in the black kit of red kit, of Draft Racing. He's going to come back into the group. Rotherham almost had a stage win earlier. This was the guy that was caught just before the line. I mean, we're talking inside 50 meters. So I'd like to see Rotherham get a result after coming so close. Once you get a taste, you really want it a little more.
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, you're starting to see those familiar names go to the front. Jaden Yeager, Matt Usborn, Ben Thomas, Rotherham. These are the powerhouses of the Echelon Racing League. And I don't think many of them have gotten a result, although they are definitely putting out the numbers. But, there are team tactics, and a lot of teams are having their guys, go to the front and make racing hard so that the sprinters can do their thing at the end.
Yeah, it seems like there's a few teams in this group that are also looking at this field saying, all right, this is way too big, 33K to go. Usually they have this down to like 15 or 20 guys at this point. So the fact that the group is this big, I think also has some teams taking notice out there as well. Speaking of teams, support your favorite team at wearenations.com with the official Echelon Racing League gear. They've got t-shirts, hats, hoodies, all kinds of cool stuff up on the We Are Nations website. Each team has a line of products, and a portion of those proceeds go back to the teams and riders as well. So check out wearenations.com, get your official ERL gear. Frank, it's been cool seeing more and more people rocking their Nations gear, getting their team gear out there. I know a lot of folks had to come in for the holiday season, and a cool way to help support those teams and help them get to the next level.
Yeah, we are super excited to be able to work with We Are Nations to provide merchandise for these teams and a revenue share model for that merchandise sales to help support these teams. You know, e-racing doesn't have as much overhead as real life racing, but it does still have some overhead. You know, riders do need some logistics stuff and trainers and power meters and heart rate monitors and kits and webcams, and so, you know, any way we can help make this sport more equal and provide another revenue source for teams to be able to come out and do our races, you know, we want to be sure to do that.
My favorite part is we can do whatever we want. There's nobody in Switzerland telling us that we can't.
Yeah, no, it's been nice so far. This is our biggest attack yet, Brad, and 30 meters from Bruce Bird here.
Yeah, Bird from the Draft Racing Squad going solo here. We were taking a look at him earlier. Maybe he's just looking for some more camera time. Maybe just want to get back on camera here as he goes under the 1K arch here. Wow, this is a big gap. You can see the distance to the right of their names. It's about 35 meters right now, but toying with 40. So I think he is gaining some time over Revel and Thomas here. Haven't talked a lot about Ben Thomas today. He's been pretty quiet, the series leader here of the Echelon Racing League, but that's why Ben Thomas is the series leader here, Frank. The guy is consistent, if nothing else. So only one win in the series for Thomas, but he's been top 10 just about every time he toes the line. So that's where he's really drawn his series lead from. Bird, though, looking for a stage win today, and he's trying to do it by getting away. He has gone deep. You can see his look on the zoom camera has changed significantly since we last saw him, as they're riding a little easier.
Well, and it's interesting. You look at these power to weight numbers here, and the field does look to be bringing him back slowly, but it took the field kind of went wide and let him get a little bit of a leash there, which is where we're at now, before anyone decided, oh, we need to bring that back.
See Ostenfeld also taking charge up at the front of the group. Again, this is where a team like Insured Pedal Power can really use their strength in numbers, or a team like Project Echelon will be able to send some guys up to the front and say, all right, let's go bring Bruce Bird back, because maybe it's a little too early for a break, or we want to get a break going with us in it. So they either bridge or chase it, and it looks like they're going to chase this one back as Bird starts getting reeled back in by the front of the field. Valiant attempt, though. I like the riders that at least try something out there, Frank, because otherwise we're just watching a big group of riders race a video game, do a group ride. No one wants to do that. So thank you, Bruce Bird, for the attack.
Yeah, no, and what was interesting to see there, I don't know if you noticed it, but Chris Revel's Tour 2000 team, they had 5 guys at the front there to bring that back. They weren't taking any chances letting Bruce Bird go up the road there. Now it looks like Ruderham's going to try.
The old 1-2 from Draft Racing, although Field going to respond to that one pretty quickly and shut that down, as we see a little surge up the left side there. Here's Matt Usborne. First time we've seen him off the front today, but about the 400th time that we've seen him off the front in this series, Frank.
And if you look who's with him, he's got Mike Lister and Matt Moon. Mike Lister is one of the community riders. He's qualified for every weekend of racing so far, and he's one of the, we'll call him an RGT OG. He's been with RGT since the beginning. He hosts a team time trial series on RGT, manages a Discord channel for RGT community riders. And if you watch, he does race recap videos. He did one for the Armed Forces race last weekend, and it was really something to watch, just how, we'll call him a master of the platform, navigates a race like this. It's really impressive to watch, and you can learn a lot.
Yeah, it's been cool meeting everyone from the RGT community and sort of entering into this world that they've created over the last couple years, really, of racing on the platform. Amazing how many people have come together with their personal talents to help improve the community of racing and the software itself, the RGT app and platform.
Yeah, it's really great to see not just the community excited to help, but RGT excited and letting the community, eager for the community's help in developing all these secondary and tertiary efforts that are needed to make a good racing experience. You know, we've got our results platform on the Echelon Racing League website has been put together by a community member. There's a new website that's put together by a community member to help manage, to research and look up events and Magic Road courses. And then I think there's 5 or 6 different race series. Alex Legger, who's in this field, also does a Thursday night crit series, Mike Lister's TTT series. Mike Lister is also putting on a community stage race this weekend as well. So yeah, no, it's been really impressive to see the platform excited to work with the community and the community respond and bring about all this new great stuff.
Yeah, it's been a blast meeting our new friends, but it's also been fun hanging out with our old friends as well as we visit real races here on the Echelon Racing League schedule. You see our next events coming up. Looking forward to the Redlands Bicycle Classic. Then we're headed to Joe Martin Stage Race, and then one of my favorite races of the year, the Tour of America's Dairyland up in Wisconsin. Frank, it's the perfect bridge between our real-life racing community that we missed out so much on in 2020 and probably into 2021 here as we continue the march of the pandemic. But it's a great way to bring old friends together with the new friends that we've been meeting on the platform.
Yeah, we started Echelon Racing League as some one-off races just because with COVID there was no real-life racing, and what we found growing from that is the Echelon Racing League proper you see now, and it'll be refined and improved as we move on to next year, but we realized that this is a platform and a venue that we could utilize for the off-road season, the road off-season, where we can still showcase real-life bike racers, real-life teams, real-life courses, and so road racing doesn't fall into oblivion like you have, like we've seen through the winter every year thus far, especially for riders and teams who don't participate in cyclocross.
Talked about the community series as well. Registration now open for that at echelonracingleague.com. January 16th, the next community event for the Redlands Classic. They're, I think, doing the Sunset Loop course. Is that right, Frank?
Yes, it is. We actually got the courses yesterday,
awesome.
And we're refining them this weekend and hoping to get those Magic Road IDs and everything set up for the community events and sent out to everyone on Monday or Tuesday. If you are interested, echelonracingleague.com. Sign up for the amateur event and come try it out. It's free, it's fun. We have 4 categories for men and women, Cat 1 through 4, based on experience, not necessarily raw power. And we invite everyone to try it out. Like I said, the platform's free, the race league's free, and just good fun for everybody.
Yeah, Redlands, another one of those classic races. Really every race on the Echelon Racing League schedule is a classic American race. They're almost all part of what's called the PRT that we have here in the United States. That's the calendar that is run by USA Cycling, sort of their collection of best races in the United States. And see a lot of those showing up on the Echelon Racing League calendar. So, yeah, cool way for us to all sort of stay connected in a year apart, because there's a whole community out there that we're used to visiting every weekend, either via live streams or in person. But obviously, COVID here in 2020 and into 2021 has changed all that and changed the way that we race bikes and enjoy the events.
Yeah, I've heard a couple people refer to the Echelon Racing League as the virtual PRT, and we didn't set out with that in mind, but these are some of the classic, most well-known and historic races in the country that are still active today.
I want to bring in race director Mike Weiss here from the Gateway Cup. Mike, we are on day 2 of our virtual Gateway Cup today, but you guys do 4 days of racing total for the Gateway Cup weekend. Take me through the weekend of racing.
Yeah, we start Lafayette Square on Friday night. It's the dreaded nighttime crit, but it's bone flat, and it is really like gets your legs going. It's probably one of the fastest crits in the country. It's usually for the pro guys, it's probably about a 30-mile-per-hour average, and it's in a beautiful French neighborhood. And then the next day we kind of wake up in this sleepy, like kind of Archie bunker community called St. Louis Hills. It's just this really, really kind of tight-knit community, and it's a giant park again. So it's, 2 4-corner crits, but they're different. In Francis Park, it's just a beautiful day outdoors. Wide open race. I mean, it's probably 6 lanes around. And then, the Giro is sort of, that's kind of our high point of the weekend. It's just the Italian community just kind of goes bananas. It's like, they're bringing a little bit of Europe to American criterium racing, and it's just a really cool blend. And then all the restaurants, we talked about yesterday, just get into it, get into sharing. And then, unfortunately at Benton Park, what's going on right now in front of us is easily the hardest race of the 4 days. I mean, it is a battle just to survive. And it's, what Frank said is right. The cream will rise to the top on this course. It's always a small selection, and I'm always amazed by not only the guys that finish at the front, but the guys that hang on.
Maybe one of the coolest parts of the Gateway Cup is the history. I mean, this one goes back to 85, I think, the first Giro della Montagna. I got some pictures from Joe Teresi, who was the first race promoter of the very first Giro della Montagna. Things look pretty different back in the first edition of the Gateway Cup. I love the Campy neutral support, the Campagnolo support wagon. Doesn't get more classic than that. You knew it was a big deal. And then how about this? The Killian's team, you remember that? Some things change, some things stay the same. Riders still showing up in vans to bike races, and pretty cool look at the finish line here at the Giro. No fencing back in the day. Joe said they just asked the fans to stay on the side of the road, and that was plenty. So, and of course, they had the 7-Eleven team, some of the best riders in the world showing up to the Giro della Montagna. It was really cool to see so many riders out there. Mike, an incredible history, and it continues here with the Gateway Cup. So thanks for all that you do, and a new tradition here as well with the virtual Gateway Cup. So we're about halfway through. We're going to check back in with Mike here in just a bit as we continue our virtual Gateway Cup. But Frank, halfway through, groups still together. These guys just cannot get away today.
Yeah, it's looking like we've got about 40 riders of the original 58 that started. And I think the big difference we're seeing today versus the previous races is I haven't seen any real. We've seen a couple attacks, but we haven't seen an all-out attack. It looks like they're kind of just testing the waters, teasing it out, seeing what they can get away with. But I haven't seen an all-out I want to get away type attack from anyone yet.
Seeing some new names come to the front here as well, as I think this is probably because they're using the elevation in the turns to their advantage. See Ben Thomas sitting at the back there trying to be as efficient as he can. It is starting to shrink, though, Frank. We are starting to lose some riders. You can really see the shape of the field here. You see how it stretches out coming out of the turn, and there's even like a pace line, an echelon going here from the left to right on the road here for the riders. So you can really see up above how real the dynamics of the game are.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting that you see this when you compare it to other platforms is, the field right now is doing 50K per hour, 44K per hour. But to do these speeds, to do 27 to 30 miles an hour, what we're seeing is there's guys on the front doing, right now it's 500 to 600 watts to drive that pace. It's there's not a bubble there. It's if we're doing that speed, someone's putting the work in to get to that speed.
Yeah, and it looks like here it was Will Harden picking the tempo up at the front. Here goes Rudderham again with Usborne. So if you're holding on to the back of this group right now, your alarm bells are ringing, because this is about to get a lot faster and a lot harder with Will Hardin in front. You're just going to leave me hanging on that one, Frank? You got to be kidding.
Yeah, I had nothing. That was a good one. I'll give you that one.
It was terrible. That's why it was so good.
What is a bike race without dad jokes?
There you go. Looks like Vogel taking a look off the front here. Wow.
So this is the type of attack I was saying. We haven't seen anything all out yet, and like I said, Vogel is a diesel engine, just a monster. Right now 600 watts at 6.5 watts per kilogram. He's putting in a move, and we're actually working with our real life director sportif and Eric Hill and everyone from Project Echelon to set up Vogel to try for the American Hour record later this season as well. So I'm curious to see what he can hold for the remaining 20 kilometers.
Look at this massive wattage as he goes into the red here.
Bonding.
Let's listen in.
Looking good,
120 meters.
Can somebody be ready to go as soon as they bring him back? If they bring him
Yeah,
back?
I'm feeling good. I'll go.
All right.
Well, there you go, Frank. Sounds like Project Echelon thinking 3 steps ahead here. They've already got a plan for it. Things come back. That sounded like Eric Hill saying, I'm feeling good. I'll go if he comes back.
Yeah, I'm interested. That was Eric. I'm interested to see how the field responds. It's one of those, every team can have a plan and even think they have the perfect plan. But, there's, in this group specifically, 36 other people that might have a plan somewhat similar as well. So I'm curious to see what they say. But right now, Vogel's sitting about 110 to 120 meters off the front.
This is a tough spot for Vogel, too, because it doesn't look like he's going to be getting any help here. So 100 meters up the road and all by yourself with 20 kilometers of race to go, Frank. I mean, what do you do here if you're Stephen Vogel?
I mean, I think if you're Vogel, you commit. You hope the field, out of sight, out of mind, especially on a course with 10 turns. And, if you think you've got it, you commit.
Yeah, this has got to be all in for Vogel here. Looks like Rudderham and Jaeger going to take up the chase. Rudderham for draft and Jaeger for restart racing. Jen Jaeger, another one of those diesel trucks in this field, riding for the Restart Racing squad. He was also on that Esports Worlds team representing the United States at the Esports World Championships earlier this year. So these are tough guys to have on the front if you're Vogel in Project Echelon, because they are putting the big guns up here for sure. And you can see it's working. They're down to 42 meters to bring Stephen Vogel back. But all the credit in the world to Project Echelon for this move. We talked earlier about the need for riders to try to mix things up. That's exactly what Vogel's doing, and I love it.
Yeah, he's jumping at every turn. He's not making it easy for them to bring him back. He's definitely committed, and I'm curious to see what kind of havoc this wreaks on the field once he is caught.
Looks like a few riders trying to come off the front of the group, but they're going to drag the entire group with them here as it'll be Ben Thomas. That's going to be Bruce Bird. Here's Eric Hill, who we talked about earlier, being ready for Project Echelon to counter the move. So watch Hill. That's him in the sort of turquoise blue Project Echelon jersey. We'll see if he goes over the top of Vogel. I think he will, and try to launch again. Project Echelon definitely wants to get something split here, Frank.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Being on the team, I wish I knew what the plan was, but I'm curious to see what happens next. You know, they talked about Eric Hill going off the front next, but also you see Usborne here putting power down as well, not seeming to want anything, to let anything go up the road.
Doesn't look like they were able to get anyone away off the front here because guys like Ben Thomas went to the front and started setting tempo. Ostenfeld was there as well to cover things. And we take a look at Ostenfeld and Matt Usborne here, who I would expect to see off the front again before the end of this one, Frank. Usborne has been surprisingly quiet today. He's usually one of the guys that in the first 20 or 30 minutes is really trying to up the tempo, but it seemed like there were plenty of volunteers today, so Usborne didn't have to take his normal role. Ruderham has been that guy today for me.
Yeah, no, Ruderham, we've seen him a lot with his face in the wind. Really curious to see who they're racing for. You know, if Ruderham's doing a lot of work, and I hope it's all for naught. I hope it's not all for naught. And I think we'll see Usborne start to showcase some power now that we're into the final 16K. I think we're going to start seeing the, as Mike was saying, the cream rise to the top. I think the familiar names are going to get to the front, and we're going to see some hard racing for the next 20 minutes.
All right, so this is going to be 6 laps to go as they hit the line here. So we'll start ticking off the laps here, Frank. Pretty long circuit, much longer than we saw yesterday. Relatively short course at the Giro della Montagna, but all the turns in this one certainly add to the difference here in Benton Park. And a little more wide open, too. Those overpasses in real life where you're going over the freeway, it's exposed to the wind if it's a windy day, but pretty wide as well.
Yeah, the course is extremely technical, 10 turns with a little uphill and a little downhill, but it's not so technical that it's hard to navigate or in a field. It's easy to move around, easy to move up. Where it gets really hard is on that back stretch where the S turn is when you have to jump out of turn after turn after turn. It's people that can't efficiently turn a bike are really expending a lot more energy than those who aren't touching their brakes. And so it's just, with it being 10 turns, 18 laps, you're talking 180 turns. And so that's a lot of jumping, especially if you're, going into the red every time you come out of one of those turns.
Yeah, and I think that's even exaggerated more on the platform here on RGT. So they're paying for every single one of those turns. We saw it with the Armed Forces Cycling Classic, too. They call that one the race of 500 turns because it's a 5-turn course. The pro men do 100 laps, 100K, so it wears on you for sure. The turns are what make criterium racing so tough because it's not about riding an hour. It's about the constant up and down effort. You're basically interval training for a better part of a couple hours, Frank. Nice feathering there by the Evoc bike riders. I just noticed them coming up the outside and then letting off the gas, coasting up to the front. Frank, am I right in thinking that when we see the guys coasting on the game, that means that they're coasting in real life? Is it pretty accurate how that zeroes out?
Yes, it is, except for, I will say, in the turns. So when your avatar hits his brakes, we'll see Oosborn's maybe do it here in a minute, where his power number goes red. When your power number goes red, that means you're going faster than you can, whether it's you're about to run into someone in front of you or go through a turn too fast. And so your rider will, I call it hitting the digital brakes. And so in doing that in the game, your rider will coast through the turn if he's hitting the brakes, regardless of if you're pedaling or not.
Oosborn taking a look off the front here, but he will be reeled back in. And yeah, we'll talk more about that GUI as it becomes more important here closer to the finish, because we'll be watching those power numbers a little more closely as well as the guys get ready to sprint to the line. Here goes Jaden Yeager taking a look off the front. Now, Yeager was an early season success story here in the Echelon Racing League. He pretty much dominated the league in the first few weeks of racing, then raced the Esports World Championships, took a little bit of time off for restart racing, but looks like he's back with a vengeance here, Frank.
Yeah, and the field's kind of hesitating, not really chasing. If you look at the comparison of his power output versus Chris Naven and Warner there, they're kind of giving him a little bit of a leash, probably seeing what's going to happen. I'm wondering if someone's going to try to bridge here in a second, or if they're just going to try to slowly reel him back in and let him cook out there.
In on the front, as they're going to see 4 laps to go on the counter when they come through. Now, we talked to Frank earlier about the efficiency of riding and the importance of not wasting your energy on the bike. Oosborn knows what he's doing here. I don't want to make Oosborn seem like he's an inefficient rider, because his riding style is trying to get a break going, right? Trying to win out of the group. So it's not that Oosborn is wasting energy here on the front, but this is why he always has such a high average watts per kilogram, because he's not afraid to make moves like that, not afraid to try to cause splits and try to go off the front. It hasn't paid off yet, but I'm convinced that it will before the end of the season for Oosborn.
Yeah, I think Oosborn's gonna have his day. He's definitely up there, just always making the action, and it's one of those, the solo breakaway only works 1% of the time, right? So if you try it 100 times, you're going to win eventually.
We are on day, 7th, 8th of the Echelon Racing League? It might be a while then before we see Oosborn get a stage win, but it's coming. Just hang in there. Well, taking a look at some more of our riders in the Zoom room. Everyone looking pretty calm right now as Bruce Bird takes a look off the front. These guys still haven't responded. That's Alex Plager down in the bottom right, Will Harden in the bottom left, Ryan Hodges from Insured Pedal Power up in the top left, and then Hayden Warner up in the top right. 4 guys that have really been mixing it up in the front of this group, but nobody's been more aggressive in the last couple minutes than Bruce Bird, as he's going solo off the front right now, Frank.
Yeah, Bruce has been super active, and again, between him and his teammates, I think Draft might, be the most combative team today. They've just, sending rider after rider off the front, and it doesn't look like the field's really trying to respond too fast here. They're not jumping to chase him down. They're just going to slowly reel him in, I think, over this last 10K.
Yeah, definitely easy to overlook a guy like Bruce Bird in a move like this inside 10K. It's easy to say that's way too far for a solo rider to go, but there's a few riders in this race that could do it. Jay Yeager, I think, is one of them that I would say could probably do that 10K solo effort. So this field should definitely be worried about Bruce Bird on the front. Now, Bird is sitting with lap riders right now. All these guys around him are riders that he caught and are sitting a lap down. So he's not getting any advantage for them as he's sitting on the front. He's going to go by him here pretty soon.
Here
But
comes
little confusing with the lap traffic. And, yeah, this is going to be Hodges coming up right now. Good call, Frank.
Yeah, Hodges went across. Looks like Bird's going to jump onto his wheel. And it looks like Eric Hill's trying to get across as well. One of the things we have done as we continue to develop the race league is we have, reached out to team directors. We try to work with them and the riders super close. We view the teams and the riders as partners in this. And we have asked, if you are a lapped rider, when the main field catches you, it's hard to sit on the back of a field in a virtual game like you would in real life. So what we've asked them to do is just stop pedaling and let the field go by, and then they can keep racing, just so that the lap traffic does not affect the race.
Look at Bruce Bird down in the bottom right of your picture. That's Bird and Hodges on camera. We're trying to work together to try to get away. And it looks like Hodges has come back into the group, and I think Bird back in there as well. Yeah, so
yep.
That one has been shut down, and now Crane having a little look-see on the front. I see Jonathan Crane getting in the Gateway Cup spirit here. I think he's got, I think this is a photo from one of the Gateway stages. I see the Big Shark Bike Race Company banner in the background. That was the dead giveaway for me. This is the year Daniel Holloway was in Stars and Stripes here for, I think that's the Alto Velo team. Well, back a few years.
Crane giving us a little wave. Velez trying to take a look off the front now.
Yeah, Charlie Velez is a hitter, too. It's been really interesting watching his role on this Canyon Esports team. Remember, he took some wins earlier in the season, but not afraid to sort of switch roles and help out the team when we saw Ollie Jones take the win.
Yeah, I think Charlie, he's a younger guy, super strong. We saw him on the very first race weekend, the Stelvio climb. He felt good, and after taking the win on the Paterberg, really hit it and was, looking as the favorite to win the Stelvio until he ran out of gas about 2K from the top. But just a really good talent, really great rider on the Canyon Esports Devo team, and we're going to see him, I think, making some waves, not only in e-racing, but in real-life racing as he matures and gets grows up a little into a real bike racer.
He is hammering that effort up on the front here as he goes into the sort of orange-red power zone. Bird is going to go with him, and then Tom Thrall looks like will be the guy from Insured Pedal Power that they're going to assign to try to go with him and try to join these two. I like this move, though. Velez and Bird can link up here, Frank. This is a dangerous move for the guys back in the field. 6K to go. They can absolutely do this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, I think this is where the team tactics is going to come in, because it's going to be Project Echelon, Tor, and Restart who are going to, and Above and Beyond Cancer. You know, the four big teams in this field are going to have to go to the front and bring it back and not look at each other to try to assign the role to someone else in the field.
Yeah, and then maybe the bigger question is, as we heard with Project Echelon, who's next if this one comes back? Who's next on deck to go? Because I guarantee you both of these teams have a plan, and it's about to get executed here at 2 laps to go. They come back into the fold. We're all back together, and now let's see who will be in attack round 3 to try to roll off the front. Eric Hill back up to the front here into the red zone.
Yeah, 5K to go. This is a good move for Eric Hill. If they give him a little bit of a gap, he's going to be able to just sit in and do his 5-minute effort to try to open this gap up a bit more and get to that finish line first.
Got to be frustrating for Hill here, though, going, where's everyone that wanted to be in the breakaway now? Because he's not getting any help, nobody going to join him. In fact, looks like Hodges and company sitting up at the front of the field going to shut this one down. So Hill not getting any love out there from the group.
But it's looking like Vogel going again over the top of Eric.
Maybe Hill was just a setup for Steven Vogel here. Going again. Second big move of the day for Vogel.
Yeah, this could be dangerous if the field doesn't respond quick, and if Vogel's feeling good. You know, 4K to go, lap and a half.
Charlie Revel taking up the chase effort up at the front of the field. Frank, we were talking with Eric Hill earlier before the start of the stage about this course in real life, his experience racing at Benton Park. Said this is where he had the best results because you can really use your power on this course. And now Steven Vogel getting to go at it. So this is the course that Project Echelon tapped for a win this weekend for the squad. And certainly an impressive show of teamwork here. Here goes Charlie Revel pushing again, trying to get up to Steven Vogel.
Yeah, I think what's interesting, you know, when you see these riders attacking off the front or, you know, trying to bridge across, and maybe Rebel wasn't trying to get all the way across, but, you know, we're not really seeing, other than Vogel, and I think Bruce Bird had a decent one, you're not seeing, you know, like you do in real life where it's, you know, that all-out 10-second sprint and then settle in and pedal efforts. You know, you're seeing the guys attack at, you know, 7 to 9 watts per kilogram, which is not nothing, but it's not enough to break that rubber band. You know, Vogel's shooting at 10 to 11 watts per kilogram for 10 seconds and then settling in at 5 to 6. You know, looking there, 500, 600 watts. That requires a major effort to bring that back, and you know, he's trying to snap that rubber band now.
Yeah, this is it for Steven Vogel here as he's going to go all in for the final lap of racing at 2.5K to go. And we're heading out on our final lap here, Frank. So we're bringing in our official last lap bell from race director Mike Weiss. Sorry, we were a little late on that. That was my bad. These guys are flying out there. The lap times are starting to drop more and more with each lap as Vogel has really lifted the speed out there today. And now in an all-or-nothing move, holding steady at 6 watts per kilo. Oy, 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 that looks painful.
Yeah, we're going to have to get a webcam for Vogel. I'm curious to see the look on his face right now. This is a monster effort. It looked like Restart Racing and Insured were on the front trying to bring it back with Yeager and Matt Moon. We'll see what happens. It looks like he's about to get caught, though.
Mullen, Swart, and company taking up chase at the front, doing a nice job working together. That is one of the bummers for Vogel here, is that the guys back in the field have really done a nice job of working together as a group to bring them back. Definitely a cohesive effort back there. Here goes Mullen on the front. Revel is there, Swart, but watch the names further at the back. I don't know that these guys are really where they want to be right now doing the work to bring this one back. It's the guys in the second or third row back there that are going to be getting a little bit more of a draft, but they just can't seem to shut it down on Vogel. Frank, I hate to get ahead of myself here. I would hope that Vogel can make it, but if experience is anything like our last few stages, I think Vogel gets caught on the start-finish stretch. We've seen so many of these come so close to the line, but it just hasn't worked out yet for a solo jump to the line.
Yeah, he's put in a monster effort here, but I do think the race is going to come down to a sprint. The names we haven't seen since the beginning: Heinlein from Project Echelon, Ostenfeld from Insured, Ben Thomas, John Cooper from Triple X Athletica. I do think there's been quite a bit of talent hiding in this field, and I think they're gonna come to the front here in about 1 kilometer.
Yeah, they just hit 1K to go, so we're at about 800 meters now. Looks like Vogel going to get swallowed up in this corner, so we'll cross him off the list, and we are all back together here, Frank. As predicted, the field sprint coming to the line in the last K of the Benton Park criteria. Vogel spit out the back. That's it for him. We said all or nothing, and he is done for the day. So take a look at the show on the front. Somebody trying to move up the left side of the group. Alec Jones on the pointy end of the field here at 400 meters to go. Here comes Mike Swart up the inside. Ben Thomas is making an appearance as well. Thomas could be a good pick today, Frank. Haven't heard a lot from him so far.
We got looks like a 3-person Insured lead-out train as well as a Tour 2000. Canyon hitting it hard. Charlie Velez going early. Here we go. Insured, all corner. 3 Insured on the front. Matt
Here goes Moen to the front.
Again.
Wow. Well, Matt Moen goes 2 for 2 this weekend. After graduating from the amateur ranks, he moves up to the pro races for the Giro della Montagna. And then gets the win on day 2 here in Benton Park. Matt Moen, 2 in a row here in the Echelon Racing League.